Hello, I'm Dan Rather. You're about to see a history of Austin, Texas. I'm standing above the lobby of the historic Driscoll Hotel in downtown Austin. The people you're about to see and hear share something in common with this hotel. They are the living history of Austin. This history is recounted by ordinary people, and even though they each come from very different backgrounds, they have a lot in common. They each possess a marvelous ability to laugh at themselves that only years and life experiences can provide. They speak in words and phrases reminiscent of yesteryear. They live in the present, but represent the past, even in the here and now. For me, they define a bygone era of decency and humanity, an era that produced ladies and gentlemen, as illustrated here. And they share something else. All of them are served by Meals on Wheels and More in Austin. Every day, Meals on Wheels and More in Austin serves more than 2,000 meals. But these folks are not just numbers. Here's a picture of their lives, their contributions, memories of who they were then and who they are today. So come with me now and listen to the story of Austin, told by those who lived it. It's their legacy to this great city we call ours. The art of storytelling is an ancient pastime. Stories help preserve our past and help us live in a lost moment. This documentary conveys some of the stories of Austin's citizens told by themselves.
If you had a Model T Ford, it'd run on anything if you got it started. We'd crank up the back wheel because you had to start the damn thing with a crank. And then that left the wheel running. And when it started, that wheel really buzzed until you got in there and stuck your foot on a crutch. I got my first car because I dug a basement with a shovel and a wheelbarrow for a fellow. And then he couldn't pay me, so he gave me his car, and he owed me $2. But we'd start that with gasoline, just a little gasoline. And as soon as it started, we put in kerosene, running on kerosene. They'll get kerosene for, at that time we'd get it for 6 cents a gallon, and gas was 10.
I loved to swim. I was a great swimmer. And we'd go swimming almost every day in the summer. I like to challenge the lifeguards and outswim them. And I love to swim. My cousin, they live close to Deep Eddy, and we'd go over there quite a bit.
We had a flood in Austin, and Buckhannon Dam now, we just flooded over. Houses going down the stream. Chickens on top of the roof of houses going down. Big trees going down the stream.
I was asleep on the floor, and I don't know, I turned or something, you know, and kicked the floor, and it splashed. And that was where the water was coming in, and just getting up to where I was laying. I got up and opened the door, and I started throwing all the stuff on top of the door so it wouldn't get wet. But that didn't do any good. It went with the house. Well, everybody needed help. I think my dad got $150 or something like that. But he built a house with that.
They had a picnic at Tillotson College, and I was invited to go to the picnic, and that's where I met my queen on a rowboat. Well, I had quite a few girlfriends during the time.
You sure did.
And I went there. My major was art, and a minor in history. And my wife stayed on 11th Street, so when I was walking during that time, so she stayed on one side of the street. When I had to go to 11th Street to go to some nightclub, I always walked across the street so she wouldn't see me. So I'd walk down there, so we finally got together to tie the night. So been lovely ever since then. So I met a real good wife and everything. So
Thank you.
yeah.
Got a good husband.
Our Greek class was on the 27th floor of the tower. We got Dr. Pinnick in trouble. He was out of the office for a few minutes, and we took paper out of our notebooks and make paper airplanes, and we sailed them out of the 27th floor of the tower. And he came in a day or two later and said, "Young man, you got me in trouble with the UT president." Dr. Rainey had called him in and said that airplane sailing had to stop. And the students underneath were laying bets, we found out, with odds as to which one of these planes would sail and stay up the longest. Those were the days.
I would go out on the beach and everybody noticed me. And they'd come up and talk to me and telling me things that were just fabulously untrue, like, well, you're muscle bound. I said, oh, I am? So I could touch the ground with my hands like this and do a couple of backflips, and I'd ask them if they could do that. And no, well, you're the one who's muscle bound. And then some of the girls would, I'd have been doing a brag, but they hounded me, and I used to tell them, look, I came out here to relax, stay in the sun, please leave me alone. One Sunday, there were hotels out there, and I got up to go get a cold drink in the hotel, and this girl had been watching me. When I passed her, she purposely fell over. And if I'd have let her fall, she wouldn't have hurt herself because she'd hit the soft sand. But I grabbed her anyway. And I said, young lady, what do you think you're doing? Well, she said she was swooning. I said, you're swooning, all right. You act like you're trying to sit on my lap when I'm standing up. Things like that, they just happened all the time.
The state capitol, constructed of unique Texas pink granite, evokes different memories for Austin folks. Mr. John Brown, at age 78, continues to work part-time at the Capitol. He enjoys telling the story that his wife of 55 years, Nahoma, scooted him out of the house and back to work shortly after his retirement because she said they were spending too much time together.
I got started working at the Capitol. Me and my wife were laying in bed one Saturday morning, and she said, John, I said, what? I'm getting tired of looking at you. I said, what? Then from then that day on, I started working at the Capitol January the 1st. And I worked for Lieutenant Governor Bob Bullitt. He'd be out there eating, him and his wife. And he called in the back and said, "Is Brown working today?" I said, "Yeah, well, I'm gonna fix him a steak." So I fixed to know how to fix his steak. So he liked his steak medium rare. And, trimming it out here. There wasn't nobody else, letting nobody else cook it. That's how I met Governor Bob Bullitt. And he's a well person. I liked him very well.
My first trip to Austin was in 1937. I came in on the railroad train. The two skyscrapers were Littlefield Building and Scarborough on Congress. And then the Norwood Building was about a block back. Those were the three tall buildings downtown that you saw. So you had a clear sweep of the avenue and the Capitol. And that was, to me, very impressive. And then behind it, you could see the University Tower, which was new that year.
Also, on my 76th birthday, I was invited to the mansion. Governor Perry gave my birthday party. I was 76 years old. Never forget that day. It's raining and all like this. So Governor Perry knew what I liked most, barbecue ribs. So I had barbecue ribs. He fixed it up there and he blew my candles out on a birthday cake. So he blew all my candles out and made a wish and everything. So went on back. And whenever he see me now, he'll holler at me. Sometime we have meals, stuff on the campus, out on the ground. He holler out the window. And he's a private security guard and everything. He said, "Well, who's the guy up here hollering?" I'd be walking upstairs, "Hey, Brother Brown, come see me." But whenever he see me, I don't care where you see me inside the Capitol, he always stop and holler at it. And security guard get kind of jealous, like that, by him knowing him. And he went out and grab and hug me like that's his wife too, yeah.
The racism that provoked institutional segregation lies deep-rooted in U.S. history. Many people today recall the effects on their lives and the generalized acceptance that it existed and that it was the way it was.
Well, one thing, for instance, we'd go to the movies, we had to go upstairs and we couldn't go to the bathroom. We'd all have to go to different bathrooms. And it said colored.
We had trouble with racist people in China. But anyway, though, we would go in places and they didn't allow the black to go in the store.
I couldn't go to Barton Springs and take a bath with the rest of the guys because it was segregated. Deep Eddy. I couldn't go there either.
When the Commerce Avenue at the time, I remember, they had streetcars. But during that time, then we still had to ride in the back of the trolley.
Well, they'd go in one restroom, we'd go in the other, and the blacks would, on these streetcars, they'd go in the back and we'd go in the front.
And the furthest you can go up to Commerce Avenue was Brazos Street. You wasn't allowed to go past Brazos Street, so we made, made a little money, to go to the movies downtown, things like that. With shine shoes on the sidewalk like that. We couldn't go past Brazos Street. From Brazos on back, you're welcome to go.
A big old sign there, we don't serve Mexicans. Just like you go in the depot and there's 3 cups to drink water. They had a fountain there. And one said niggers, it didn't say black. Niggers, Mexicans, whites. You better get the right cup too.
When you get out of the military, Dodge and military, 1 year, 2 years, then come back here, you can't sit down in one place and have a decent meal or something like that. You got to be escorted out or something like that, they didn't want you here or something like that. And most of the small towns had a little problem getting together on that too, yeah. Had to stop it, let's say.
You have to go in the back, to eat.
But though you went overseas, they didn't pick no difference where you are. You had to be on the front line, yeah. But to come back here, you're on the back line, yeah.
A lot of times we would eat with the black people out here because we liked the black people and we'd eat with them. But people didn't think that was the right thing to do, but we thought it was the right thing to do.
The reason, because I told them church is a good place to integrate because to learn how to get along with all different nationalities. And they got to play, Juanita, my daughter, played on the team with the children. Now, I was they asked me to be president of the mission, and I was the only black, but that's okay. But we got along fine. But that's okay. And they even, some of them asked, well, Miss White, how do you do this and how do you do that? They wanted to do things like I did, you know. But we did things together. I told them we can do things as a team.
Austin's historic Moonlight Towers have survived over 100 years. Austin is the only city in the United States that continues to use this lighting system. When introduced, farmers voiced the loudest concerns, believing that under the powerful 24-hour lights, crops would grow to gigantic sizes and confused chickens would lay eggs all day long. Their fears unfounded. Instead, the Moonlight Towers became one of the favorite spots for romantic rendezvous.
63 years ago, the trees were smaller than they are now, and the Moonlight Tower on 41st was our moonlight. The lights were blue then, and it was really soft like moonlight. And we'd sit out in the backyard and talk. So the night I finally got up my nerve to ask her to marry me, I suggested we take a walk. So we walked around, and I was gradually getting a little more courageous. And we got there by the Moonlight Tower, and I started hesitating and stuttering, and she asked me if I was all right, and I just blurted out, "I think so, I want you to marry me." Not very romantic, but we were under the moonlight. I'll let you know in a week. The longest week I ever had. And the reason, she said later, when the week was up, she told me that she knew right then she was going to. But the next morning at the university, I had a final in Greek. And that same afternoon, I was to have a final at the seminary in Hebrew. And she thought that I was out of my mind worrying about the exams and didn't know what I was saying, so she made me wait a week to see if I still wanted to marry her. I thought that was unkind of her to put me through a week. But it lasted for 38 and a half years.
The Great Depression represented a life-altering era in American history. A result of weaknesses and imbalances within the U.S. economy, the Depression was overshadowed by people's belief that prosperity was limitless in the 1920s. But by the 30s, the vicious downward economic cycle had begun. Not only political and financial institutions suffered, but everyday people and families struggled to cope with the loss of jobs and life savings. Values of a generation were formed and defined by this experience.
Things were really, really tough. That was the Great Depression. Jobs are just not available at all. 3/4 of the people were on relief.
My daddy owned a farm out in Round Rock, and so I played with the animals mostly as my until the family began to increase, you know. They had animals, had chickens, cows, and things like that.
My father, he made most of his living. He was a beekeeper, and he made most of his money that way. And of course, we sold a lot of honey, and sometime a lot of people would come here, and I'd have to sell honey. And then we had lots and lots of pecan trees on our acreage, and we'd pick out pecans and sold lots of pecans, and also sold them in the shell. And then we'd plant lots of black-eyed peas, and we'd shell them and sell them to Driscoll Hotel.
The biggest thing about depression is we had to grow large gardens because you had to have food. We lived at a farm 3 miles out of town, and so the kids all had got snookered. Their daddy had to go try and find work. Mother had God's plenty to do around the house. Well, the only one in the garden is me, with a hoe and a rake and a shovel, and so I spent a lot of time in the garden working about, growing tomatoes, peppers, and corn, and that sort of thing. On the minus features, we had a lot of people out of jobs and out of work, out of everything. All they did was roam on the trains back and forth trying to find assistance like that. Had a lot of bums come to the door in the back door and want a pan sandwich. We had a lot of things that were plus features on the depression. Families were closer, I thought. And we got together usually every week. And we did our own amusements. We played cards a lot. Had played games. And the older people just sit and talk.
It was very hard, and some of the people from Austin would come to the country, and then we'd have to feed them, and they would camp on the river. We had a few cabins there.
None of us had to be close to her. Even the teachers, the men, the football coach, wore the same suit every day. My sister, the youngest of the sisters, had the same dress. That wasn't just our family, but everybody. I earned enough money during the summertime to start buying my own clothes. The hand-me-downs that they would give you from relief were terrible. You wouldn't pick cotton in them now. When I graduated from high school, it was still tough until the war started.
Millions of men and women have served their country and fought in different wars across the world, but World War II earned the dubious distinction of the greatest and most destructive war in the history of the world. The men in this documentary can attest firsthand the price paid by those soldiers participating in the war. War is not for sissies, acknowledges one of them. These and other veterans helped shape America's history.
War is not pretty. It's not nothing to laugh about it.
I joined World War II with the National Guard. Went down to Camp Labor in Louisiana for a year and got back home 5 years later.
Right after Pearl Harbor, they drafted me. I was a pantry man on the diner, on the troop train, until Uncle Sam called me. They took me in, put me in the camp, give me a uniform, and got me dressed. You all going overseas.
I was down in Africa and zigged when I should have zagged, and they caught me. They shot my leg. I couldn't move. And then they marched me from there to Sfax. Murray was a very close friend. He saved my life. There wasn't any doubt about that. And I'd been shot when they picked me up in Africa. And Murray let me his shoulder for a long, long time. Long time. 3 days. And I could hardly walk. And if you fell out of line, they just simply shot you. That's the easiest way to get rid of somebody that can't keep up. And that's what they did. They just shot you. Well, they didn't shoot me. And I have to tell you that Murray was, I don't know how he carried me that far, but he did. You just live from day to day. You're glad today is today and don't look for tomorrow. Do whatever you want to do today, because it may be the last time you get a chance. You'll get used to that. You get used to that. And you live with a bad feeling in your stomach all the time, one of those half fear and half not jobs. In wintertime, we had too many people in the barracks, but that was good, because in the wintertime, when it got cold, we didn't have fuel, we couldn't build fires, and so we had too many people. If you keep half those people up, while the others sleep, you can keep the barracks halfway warm. Body heat kept us and gave us as much heat as we got, and we were welcome for it. We liked that. Didn't get much food. But on the other hand, of course, along at the end of the war, the Germans didn't have any food. But I've been thumped a time or two. And I got hit one time and didn't wake up for 2 days. We were out for a count, and they line us up in 5 rows, and then they come down and they count. And we'd been standing there quite a while, and it snowed, and it's cold. And I stuck my head around the corner at the front to see where the post end was that was doing the counting, and the guy behind me, I didn't know was there, had a gun, banged me on the head with it. Knocked me plumb cuckoo. That's the worst, I think, part that I had. For 2 days, I had a rocking headache that you cannot believe, and they don't have aspirin over there. That sucker, I thought his head was going to fall off. Well, I think I got through the prisoner of war business in vicariousness. I did a lot of reading, and that let me be a cowboy, a detective, and whatever you have in your mind's eye. You know, you get on a 23 skidoo in your mind, and away you go. I'd say that's why I got through what I did in this prison camp. I was vicarious.
After we got to Hawaii, Pearl Harbor had just been bombed. And smoke all around. When we first went overseas, on the ship coming out of Hawaii to Saipan, there was a little lady, they called her Tokyo Rose. And Tokyo Rose would notify us and tell us, you soldiers need to go home, or we're gonna sink you. And they shot a hole in the ship that I was on. That was a day I first feared war. And they shot the hole in the ship, and the ship almost went under, but they jacked that ship in the water, jacked it up in the water. Well, I guess it was a balloon it looked like a balloon on a jack. And they pushed the ship up. The ship was turned over, and the windows, when you look through the glass, were almost on the water. Just a little bit more to touch the water. And they jacked the ship up and welded the hole, fixed the holes inside the ship, and we continued to go on. And I stood on the water out there about 7 days on the water. 7 days. We finally made beachhead. Had a boy that the captains all loved as one of the helpers, one of their bodyguards from Wyoming, Texas, named Willie Page. I don't get the name. He and the boys, they worked for me because I was a mess sergeant. And we said, Willie, come on the ship with me. We was getting off, and I was the next man up. And he was shot. He got on top of the ship. And then that's me to come from that ramp to get off at the ship to get out. Ooh, I was afraid to go up there because the bullets hit him and knocked him in the water. He hit the water, and then I haven't seen him since. Well, we got in the island of Saipan there. The Japs made a suicide attempt out of the woods on us. And we had to take cover. We had to jump a cliff, 20-foot cliff. Jump a coil off the cliff 20 feet into the water. Water would dash up, to the water and go back, make a surge. The water was changing courses. I got all the guys and told the guys in New York, y'all jump, let's go jump. And they were jumping, and they got with me, so I made us jump. And I did not jump. I waited till the last man jumped. That's what happened. I made a pack on my back, booking the jump, and Phillips jumped, was the jump, and shot him through the shoulder. And his arm was hanging like that. And I looked back at him, saw that, I just hit the water. When I jumped, the water was going back instead of coming up. And I hit the coil, busted my back.
They used to have concentration camps in Germany. I happened to hit 2 or 3 of them. Remember where the one they call the Holocaust? Well, I was there. And I seen people there with their eyes so deep down, so that you'd take a flashlight to find them. Believe it, people wouldn't believe that, I seen guys up there that I could play a tune on their ribs.
I didn't like to go back into the prison camps, but I did. I spent 28 days in Dachau. But that's in the past now. We came out of that camp fairly well. The Russians liberated me. When they came in camp that morning, we had 2 fences, 14-foot high with barbed wire, rolled barbed wire between them, surrounding the camp, and they came down those fences with their tanks just like they weren't anything. Don't even think they'll mess up a track. They just mowed them down like trees. And they came in, by the time they got in, the Germans were long gone. They left about an hour before they came in. And then they wanted us to jump on them tanks, and they was going to want us to go to Berlin and help fight, but we didn't think so. Well, we went to the boats and got on the boats, and from there they took us back in ships. I came into New York Harbor there. I'm sure glad to see the Statue of Liberty. That's a nice looking lady if you're coming from overseas.
This collection of stories reflects the rich history of a time and place and the people in it. Except for the fact that they're homebound, they're a lot like you and me. They have interesting stories to tell, experiences that have shaped their lives and ours. These people never imagined that in their golden years they would need help from an agency like Meals on Wheels. They worked hard all their lives, made sacrifices, raised their children, defended this country, paid taxes, and helped their neighbors. They are the face of America. Let us honor them for what they have done for us and what they still have to offer. Meals on Wheels is delivering one meal every day, making sure that each of these people can live out their remaining years with dignity and independence. Thank you for watching and listening. I'm Dan Rather.
God created us all. Why some are one color, some are another, I don't know. But I think there's a purpose for it as He saw it. But I don't think there's really any basic difference. He created us all.
We were foster parents for 22 years. But I love children, and we took care of 221 foster children.
And my doctors told me that one time I asked one of them, I said, "You think I'll ever reach 90? And he just looked at me and kind of laughed. He said, "You're going to go a lot longer than that." Nothing, they never find anything wrong with me. Cholesterol 150. Everything in chemistry is just perfect. And they say, thank your exercise routine for that. That paid off.
The best part of getting old, the days that you don't get a rheumatic attack or something. That's the best part. When you can get up in the morning and drink your coffee, and that's beautiful.
But it was always fun. And when I said bring them on, because we kept color did not matter. We're all God's children.
Well, I've had a long, fruitful life. I'll tell you something, I wouldn't have it any other way.